This is where the fun begins.
Hi, everyone, and welcome. Good morning to Caff Chat here. I am so excited to be here. Missed you guys from last week. And yeah, my lighting, like I said, I still need to switch this around so I'm positioned in better lighting and also change my light bulbs in the studio. However, I am happy to be here with you. And if you're catching this on the replay, please hit the like button and let me know you are here in the comments when you watch the replay and reply to any subject that's going on in Cav Chat. We do talk about lore. We do talk about Cringe Factor, which is news, updates, or even information about what's going on in the new lore, Disney lore, basically, and how it is changing the perception of how people view George's movies. And so that's very important to me because that shares how much they are going to be dishonest with keeping the true intention of the 6 movies, of George's movies. We already know that, they're not going to be faithful to the EU. They basically let us know a long time ago, about 2014. And so any new EU characters or storylines that come from the EU is not faithful whatsoever, and it's not honoring it. So yeah, so if you're visiting on the replay, please smash that like button, and even send a super chat, or what are those called? Those not super chats, super thanks or whatever. Yeah. And I have this mug here today. I just got a chip right there. I saw I just got a chip on her shoulder. No, but good morning, you guys. What's in your mug? I'm gonna go ahead and turn off the camera for a little bit because I just don't like the lighting here, but I'm still with you. All right, so let's see who's here. We do have, we do have the poll up here. So this is going to be a tricky one because in in the Old Republic and Ancient Sith, there is a lot of people, a lot of Sith to choose from for these voting polls here. So, crap. I do have a baby cat, a new fur baby, I guess you could say, and his name is Toby. And he is raising hell right now. So if you hear any clanking or something falling, he is raising hell. And I don't know what he knocked over. But anyways, going back to the poll. So we have the ancient Sith, we have the early Old Republic Sith, and then we have those that are near the Rule 2 when that started forming. So I think I need to do Old Republic voting at least twice to get the top 2 out of there, and then go with the 4 and then vote to the top 4 and then have the top 4 vote off like I did with the Rogue Squadron one. So this one is Old Republic, about 4,000 to 3,600. We have Exar Kun, we have Darth Nihilus, Darth Sion, and Darth Malak. So it was hard to choose. I didn't throw Revan in there. Maybe the next one I will. I don't know. I didn't throw in Treya or whatever her, Kriya, whatever her name is. She's not my favorite one, but I know people adore her. And her philosophy, or her weird way of, or her nihilistic way of looking at the Force, I guess you could say. So yeah, so vote on that. I might have to have just a 2-part for the Old Republic because there's so many. Then you have the very first founders of the Sith. You also have the ancient Sith, and then you go into the Rule of 2, which starts thinning out a little bit. And then, of course, we have those others like Lumaya and them that were secret apprentices and stuff like that. And then you get into the Lost Tribe of the Sith. I'm not going to do the early Lost Tribe from the stories during the Old Republic. Excuse me. I'm going to do Lost Tribe of the Sith post Return of the Jedi. Just because that side of the lore doesn't have that much Sith involvement. So that helps out. And then, of course, the one Sith. Because we know that, the prophecy for the chosen one was to destroy the Sith to create balance. But during the time, the balance was so off in the universe and the galaxy because of, Palpatine and Plagueis and, those who came before. And once Anakin created the balance and stuff, it doesn't mean that Sith are extinct or anything like that. And there's no prophets, there's no rule saying that they will never return. The balance was so dark on the dark side that needed to shift and change. And so I think a lot of people misunderstand the prophecy in a sense. So, and then today, not only do we have cringe factors, we probably have 3 things to talk about. So this is going to be a heavy topic for cringe factor. I'm not going to try to spend too much time on these things, but they all coincide with how Disney Lucasfilm is changing things up to how the newer fans that are coming in are going to look at, again, George's movies and how they're changing the perception and the storyline from what was intended before the buyout under George. So there's 3 topics there that we're going to discuss. And let me just take a look and I'll just announce it here. And then we'll get on to the main topic. So we have, Yoda broke the Jedi's ban on attachment a long time ago. So we have that. So we have that little controversy. And this is the High Republic. And this is something that they're really making Yoda look like a hypocrite. They're making him look bad, like he's changing the way people should use the Force, I guess you can say. They're really cucking him out in there. So, and then we have Star Wars Sith TV show as Acolyte will complete its incredible prequel fix. So basically, they're saying the Acolyte is fixing the prequels, I guess. So we'll discuss that. And I am, wondering, and they never gave any true answer to what needs to be fixed in the prequels, right? So we'll talk a bit about that. But what needs to be fixed in the prequels, other than, people not liking like Jar Jar, which that's just a character analysis, right? And then, like George, coming up and, evolving the CGI and stuff like that. Some people don't care for that, but that's not necessarily a lore fix or whatever. So that doesn't pertain to this. So what really needs to be fixed? And then we have the Bad Batch, basically the unwhitewash the bad Batch campaign. So I wanted to discuss that in a little bit in itself too, because when you look at the Bad Batch, they are basically knockoff from the Null Arc, the Null Arcs, and that's under Cal Scarata, and there's a discussion on Twitter about this. And when you look at the Null Arcs and the clone troopers from the original lore, they were pretty much consistent with, Django and stuff. But we'll get more into that here pretty soon. So let's go ahead and see who's in the chat. I need to say my hellos to you guys. I'm going to change my avatar. Let me see here. I love my Merrick's one right here because she's got the data pad there. That's just what I feel like. I feel like I'm like having this important information, giving you guys the lore, discussing and stuff, and and it just fits. It fits. All right, so let's see who, and we have Holocron in here from the beginning. Good morning, Alora, and hail the chat. Thank you for coming in and hanging out and waiting. And then Fracture Filter then came in and started hanging out and waiting about maybe 10, 15, 20 minutes. I don't know. I was working behind the scenes when people started popping up and saying hello. So good morning, one and all. And good morning to you and what's in your mug. And then Matt G, thank you so much for coming in. Coffee, all the coffee. And of course, our wonderful soul assassin who cannot lay off the baby bastard-eyed Yoda bullshit here. Yep, I said it. You didn't have to send me anything to trigger me, but now that I see your name, that's just going to come back to that. I don't know why you like that little wannabe gremlin, ugly-looking gremlin creature. Let's see here. Orange Chat Review, good morning, everyone, and good morning to you. And Iris. Hello, everyone. How are you doing, Iris? I'm so happy you guys are all here. It's like I said, I missed you last week. My fur baby, he had a wellness checkup. Plus, he had to get treatment for respiratory stuff, and so I needed to take care of that. Because I didn't want to stick a cat. Not too long ago, we lost a cat to eating something. Curiosity kills a cat is a true statement, you guys. It is. And I decided to open my heart and house up to a new baby, a new cat. And so I just wanted to get a wellness checkup on him, and plus he was, sick in a sense, and he had to get some treatments. He's on medication right now and almost done with it. So yeah, so that was my Thursday morning. So I missed you guys, and I'm glad to be back. Black Nest. Ow! And he's climbing up my side. He doesn't know not to jump up on me. And he just jumped up. If you would have seen it all, if I was on camera, he like literally jumped onto my shoulder, clawed in. Okay. So Blackest Night says XR Coon all the way. Fun fact here is George Lucas liked XR Coon and his double-bladed lightsaber, and so it inspired for him for Maul's lightsaber. So those who say George didn't like the EU or was involved with it or didn't even read it are full of shit. When you look at the prequel trilogy, since we're going to have a lot of topics about the prequel era, when you look at the prequel trilogy, you sit down and watch, and the EU lore. Like, I mean, even if you just read a few of it, and stuff, you will recognize, hey, that's from this. Oh, that's from that. There's a lot of things that blended together because it's one continuity. And so George did a lot of world building with the EU for the PT or however. And so he used the EU for world building. And it's a beautiful thing. So when people go on and say, oh, it was never canon and George never liked it, blah, 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 going on with their verbiage that they still use today after how many years now? It's kind of just tiring, it's just friggin' tiring. It's like, go friggin' watch the PT. Maybe if you're not going to buy anything and you want to do your research, I recommend the Reader's Companion and also the Comic Companion because they have continuity, clips for every single book and comic in there that talks about the continuity and George's involvement and all that. So, I always refer back to that stuff. And then also the company's quotes and stuff that tells, about his involvement and what they were expected to do. So there goes my little rant there. So, but like I'm preaching to the choir here. Most of you guys know that here, or, you've learned that from me or maybe from Matt Wilkins, maybe Ryan Kennel and at one point, and also open airlock policy and others that, share all that information. Like even the young, like our teenage lore, EU lore Lance, who I did Talking EU with not too long ago. In fact, after the show, if you're curious about what, the coming generation thinks, he's a good example of, getting into the lore and really embracing the EU and the stories. And so check out our interview. And I still will do Talking EUs. I haven't been able to schedule anybody in with my own schedule right now. And speaking of schedule, I'll go ahead and start and, going down the chat and talking with you guys. I have that special announcement I did on my channel. It has its own video, and it's the art of Star Wars. I decided not to do an intro video using Ralph McCreary. I think he deserves his very own 2-part series for the art of Star Wars because he is one of the main people that George relied on for visuals, for ideas and visuals and world building. And so I think that man deserves his own 1 or 2-part videos, like little for Talking EU. So not Talking EU. I'm sorry. The art of Star Wars. So I am in the process of adding more on to his videos and making it 2-part one, because that was already nearly done. And I decided that was my executive decision as the channel creator here. And now I'm just going to go do an EU, like a introduction to the artists who were involved and going into some of the novels and stuff. So that'll be the introduction, just, sharing a little bit, not a little bit, but, sharing the names of the artists from the movies into the EU. So you guys have an idea of like how many people contributed to the making of Star Wars visuals, whether it's, painting, like the concept art, novel art, cover art, to like when we get to ILM, where we have the character creators and stuff like that. So I think that that's the best thing to do. So I think you guys will get a lot out of that, but I'm going to go ahead and share this clip here. A new series is coming to the channel, The Art of Star Wars. The series will focus on concept art that helped build the world of Star Wars from the movies into the expanded universe. The Art of Star Wars will come out every 2 to 3 weeks and will be discussed on Caff Chat every Thursday. Artists like Ralph McQuarrie, Amy Beth Christensen, Joe Johnston, Doug Chang, and many more will be featured. Stay tuned. You don't want to miss. There you go. So I'm really excited about this. It's like, as an artist, it just really excites me to give you guys, like the visuals of what made Star Wars, like how, it came about with, these worlds and, and their cities and these alien species and all of that, and the visuals and how, and how that, created and will build Star Wars. And so I'm pretty excited about that. And then we have like, people like Ralph McQuarrie that helped set the standards of the visuals through George and what he wanted. And then when you get into the, the comics, and when you get into the cover of the novels and stuff, everything stems off of that, off of those early artists that contributed to Star Wars and the visuals. Yeah. So I'm pretty excited about that. I mean, it's just, I don't know, it just does my heart good, just to talk about that and the visuals and the art and the concept of it. So let's see here. I'm going to scroll back up. I do see I have a super chat, so I'll get to that here pretty quick. I don't want to miss out. And our main topic today is Luke, and how it was foreshadowed for him to become, to create the new Jedi Order. And this all stems from inspiration of people still not getting what Luke is all about. And this, again, is how Disney, Lucasfilm is making newer generations of Star Wars, or their Star Wars fans, or whatever you want to call it, how they're making them look and perceive the Star Wars lore now. And that's including the films and stuff. So that's going to be our main topic. So as I scroll down and say hello a little bit more, because I don't want to miss out on, chatting with you guys. The whole purpose of Coffee Chat is engaging with everybody in the chat. What are your favorite moments of Luke with Luke Skywalker? And that could be if you're only more into the movies and not much into the EU right now, or still getting the EU and don't know much about it. Sure, use the movies. If you are, if you know a lot of his storylines, continued story in the EU, share that. So what is your favorite moments? What are your favorite, what is your favorite one single moment? I know it's going to be hard. It's going to be hard. I know that. But what is your favorite moment of Luke in the lore? And this is George Lucas era only again. So, mine, before I scroll down, one of my absolute favorite one that I always refer to all the damn time is from Legacy of the Force, Inferno. And it's when he confronts his nephew, Jason Solos, aka Darth Caedus, and he basically pins him down into his observation meditation chair without using any force gestures whatsoever, which surprised the hell out of Caedus. And he's confronting him about him having, the GA taking the Praxium and the younglings hostage. He talks about what's going on with Ben and the death of Cal Omos. And, so he's really confronting him in that and pinned him down. And Cadus is like, what the hell? He didn't even gesture. He didn't even use any strenuous movements or anything like this. And he realized how strong his uncle is in the Force. And as a reader, and even as a listener, because it's an awesome scene on Audible, um, he we see how strong Luke really is. We don't see much like a very, very super force abilities of from Luke and stuff, but this really, really shares what Luke can be capable of. And it goes into the storyline, the rest of the storyline in Legacy of the Force, and why he can't go after his nephew and stuff. So I'm going to go ahead and finish saying hi, and then I'll scroll down and see what you guys have to say. And then we'll get into some bit of Luke Skywalker lore of him being foreshadowed as the creator of the new Jedi Order. And that's also foreshadowed in Revenge of the Sith novelization, which is amazing. And I do have a clip to share with that from my phone because technology was updated, and so whenever I tried to play Audible on my computer Audible, it pops up, you don't have license to stream this book or whatever. So yeah, so that's something new I've never seen until now. Let's see here. So if I skip over someone, I'm sorry. Hello to everyone here, and if you're just popping in, please vote, and I'll check the poll here pretty soon. I have a lot to say today. I'm just super chatty. Um, let's see here. Blackest Night says, I have a maggot on my house. What? I have a maggot. Okay, at my house that likes to. I have read it as maggot. I don't have my glasses. I'm so sorry. That likes to plan with or plan with children's toys, or probably play with children's toys in the middle of the night. Ah, yeah, they're so fun, aren't they? And then Orange Hat Review, hey, what's up? Out of these four, Darth Sion, but I accidentally hit XR. Sion kept his body together through his hatred and his powerful will. Whoopsie. Yeah, and you can't take back your vote. So be careful because you can't take back the vote. I had to go XR Kun as I feel like he had the bigger impact on the galaxy than the others. Yeah, it's difficult. I had a hard time choosing too. I'm like, what the hell? There's so many of them in that era, before, the rule of two, there's so many Sith to choose from. Of course, rule of two, it's obvious, right? And let's see here. And Dad Man Walking, what's up? How you doing? Hello. So, and then James Unchained, what's up? How you doing? How are you? And then Batu says, and the balance was so far in the light that the good guys got proud, complacent, and arrogant. I didn't see what you guys were talking about earlier, but probably with the PT, or not the PT. Yeah, I didn't see what you guys were talking about there. And I'll go ahead and get this here. So thank you so much for the $5 super chat, Abunas, and I will chat with you soon. So, and yeah. And he says, passing by to show love to my baddest lore master. Unfortunately, I won't be able to stay as I have meetings at 1 p.m. But for now, I'll be in and out. Yeah, work does that, doesn't it? Today, my work is that I will be teaching at a yoga event on the local naval air station here. So I'm pretty excited about that. Working with the families on the base and stuff, and so I'm pretty happy about that. Orange Hat says there is nothing wrong with the prequel story-wise. This is Disney's continued efforts to molest and pervert Star Wars to their twisted design. Yeah, and then you can yeah. So let's see here. Woo. Okay. Blackest Night says, I've heard George talk about his treatment for the sequel trilogy, and wow, that's kind of out of there. And the midichlorians to speak to the wills of the Force and basically have no choice. So yeah, his wills of the wills is a very interesting concept. I don't mind that, because the Force is still something that is mystical, and the midichlorians is the way that the body harnesses and uses this unseen power, this unseen mystical power, I guess you can say, that draws, and that is the life force of the galaxy. So, but that's everybody, it's been debated from since that was introduced, And I think it's very interesting. Some people don't. Avatar is so solid, or um, solid. Okay. And then, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I drink, therefore I am. Hello, how are you? And then, Ancient One, hello. And I didn't see Soul Assassin after I teased him about the Yoda thing. Did I chase him off? I hope I didn't. Um, Seems like it's been over a month since I've made it. Yeah, it's been a while. I'm happy you're here. Alice, Star Wars and versus 23.20. Do your favorite new Jedi Order. Um my favorite Jedi Order story? Oh god, it's so hard to decide. It's, we know it's a 19 book series, and there's so much depth in that. Wow. I'll have to think about that and get back at you with that, okay? Let's see here. That one is a difficult one because between Legacy of the Force series and New Jedi Order, those are my top favorite like series. And they can go back and forth with each other. And of course, you don't have one without the other, because Legacy of the Force is right after New Jedi Order, so we have the continuation story, what's going on. So it's so hard to decide. There you are. Please hit the like button and share the stream out. Yes. Let's go ahead and take a look at the poll here. So X Arcoon is 57%. Darth Nihilus is 24%, Darth Cyan is 5%, and Darth Malik is at 14%. So you guys, there you go. This poll will be up for another half an hour. And I'm thinking about doing another Old Republic voting in my community part of YouTube for tomorrow, because I do need to narrow down 4 Sith from the Old Republic, and then have initial Old Republic votes. And then from there, then go carry on the polls that how I did with the Rogue Squadron. So I have it all planned out in my head. But because there's so many to choose from in the pre-PT era, it's going to take a little time to get through because there's so many to choose from. And I hope this also sparks your interest to go back and look at these Sith and learn more about them, and expand your lore. And let's see here. Looking forward. Okay, so Gordon, hello. How are you doing? Looking forward to this. Art is how Star Wars sustains my fandom. That's exactly it, is because you have the visuals. And then, so after you kind of get an idea, like from the movies, the concept art, the comics and stuff, all the visual aspect of Star Wars, when you read the novels, then you have a more, idea of what to envision in your head. And even if you didn't have like a description or a image to look at for a certain world, then you can kind of have an idea of like where George was going with on visuals and stuff, and his creatives, right? And so reading, even though you don't have something to look at or watch, reading also expands your minds into a greater imaginative plane, and I think reading is very important. Visuals, movies are fun to watch, but when you sit and read and you really have to get in that imaginative plane of thought, then you're using a lot more brain cells, basically. You're, a lot more brain power and creativity in the mind. And so that's really good for mind health and stuff like that. So that's why I always recommend reading, maybe sometimes even listening to audibles, but when you read and you don't have the visuals in front of you, because sometimes when you have visuals in front of you, like movies, you kind of can, I wouldn't say, I hate the term shutting off the mind, but you don't have that creative thought process going on because it's already playing for you. Yeah, that's the better way, because I hate the shut off the mind. Orange Hat says Disney doesn't have fans, they have sycophants, suck ups. Yeah. Let's see here. I'm going to scroll all the way down to see what you guys have to say about Luke, and then we'll get more into his conversation here. Oh yeah, and check out my merch store here. And I did have I did have already people purchase the get some few items off of the store already, so I'm pretty excited. And I didn't make it to the post office to like I wanted to over the holidays because I do owe stickers and images, prints to people that I have not had a chance to get off to because of the wreck. It's not an excuse, and then taking care of financials for that and stuff. And I apologize. So they're coming out. They're going out now, and I didn't, you know, I didn't want them to get lost in the mail either during the holidays. So those who I owe stuff to, you guys will be getting that, and you're getting something extra. So I'm pretty excited about that. My sorry for running way on Indian time. No, but you guys will be getting your stuff. So those who want stickers, those who want to print, you'll be getting your stuff. All right. My absolute favorite Luke moment in the lore would be courtship of Princess Leia. He pilots the Falcon and operates the quad guns with incredible accuracy and maneuvers that made Han Solo blush. Kind of shows his force power abilities and piloting skills. Yeah. I love a chatty OG Star Wars. Yeah, I'm very chatty today. Hello, you guys. I'm very chatty. And then OG, you can't take back your vote. I love democracy. I need that clip from from Palpatine. I need to put that on here. In fact, I hardly use them, but this is like my only one here that I have of Palpatine.
What kept you?
That's so crazy. It's freaky. What kept you? And he's, in his makeup, on set, getting his look going on. So that's crazy right there. Let's see here. And then let's go here. It says, got windy weather, so my signal is crappy today. I'm so sorry. That sucks. I know. Where I'm living at in California is getting hit hard with these storms here. And I'm not trying to change the subject or anything like that, but we did have a storm that went through and Friday, and basically it knocked out a lot of power throughout where I live. And so I'm like, thank God I don't have any like Caff chat in the morning because my power was out for like 3 or 4 hours in the morning. It was crazy. Yeah, and we're expecting more rain and more storms coming through as well, which the land needs water. We need water here. So I'm thankful for that. But because the land is, there's so much rain and the land isn't able to absorb the water as quick. And then all the natural waterways that were destroyed through, development, agriculture, and stuff like that, the water is settling in those areas again. So we're having flooding and all that fun stuff. So yeah, so a lot of people are getting compromised with this, even though we need the water and stuff. And no, it's not Mother Nature getting revenge, because I've seen what was posted on Twitter by Ellen DeGeneres, or whatever her name is. I thought that was funny. But anyways, going back to Star Wars, Batu says this is a tough pull, but at least there are just evil, not like Sabaoth, evil and insane. I don't know. I think Sith are quite insane. Quite insane. Let's see here. Anybody else sharing anything about, what's their favorite moment about Luke Skywalker? A shame I don't have long. Always good to, or I don't have long. Always good to see you, OG Star Wars. I'll see you later. Okay, be able to stay long. Okay, well, I'm glad you came in. We're able to, mod as well and say hello and vote. Again, if you're popping in, I have 17 beautiful people, beautiful souls here. Now 18. Hello. And please get your vote in. Press the like button. Share that. We are live on the various social medias. And let me know, what is your favorite Luke Skywalker moment, whether EU or movie? It doesn't matter. So it doesn't matter your level of knowledge. You could still be into the movies, maybe games or whatever. You can be EU elitist. And I just love that word now, EU elitist. And share your moment. Share your favorite moment. Like I said, mine is with him and Darth Caedus when he pins him down. And Luke is pissed. And, and it's like, you see, like, Luke is defending his younglings, right? He's like, you are going to leave them alone, blah, blah, blah. He's defending his younglings or whatever. And then you have to think about his father who killed younglings. So you have this like this, yin yang, I guess you can say, because Luke is what Anakin was supposed to be, right? Um, and Luke is the opposite of his father, because his father turned dark, and out of attachment to try to save someone he's loved, and it was all about attachment. And Luke learned that you can't be attached. You're gonna have to accept death and let it go. And he does have his moment of attachment with and his son basically slaps him across the head and says, knock that shit off. And I'm paraphrasing and being hyperbolic about that. And helps him come to from his attachment of the loss of Mara Jade. And from there, that's when, Ben becomes a Jedi Knight. And I think that is in Fury, in Legacy of the Force. I think it's in that novel. But it's a interesting thing that they put Luke through, the authors do later on in his life, because it shares exactly what attachment means and what it can do to you. We've seen it with Anakin, very extreme, but then also we see it with Luke, where he starts going inward. And he doesn't run away. He doesn't cower away. But Luke wants to be with Mara. And he's thinking about finding someone to step up in the order to replace him, because he's so stuck with attachment that he stops existing and stops being involved. But yeah, he doesn't run away. He's still with the order. He's still talking with the masters. He's still making them accountable and telling them, you need to take care of this, this, and this. And that's the difference between original Luke and Disney Luke. That's the difference. And there's so many different examples to compare to. And when you look back at what the company said about George and his movie characters, George has ultimate say on how his movie characters are to be developed in the EU. And so everything that we see happen with George, one way or another, not George, with Luke, one way or another, was approved by Lucas. And then people are like, well, we go back to the EU hate and stuff like that. So I just wanted to point that out. And we'll get more into the lore here. So let me go ahead and read some more, and then we'll get into more of Luke's lore here with the new Jedi Order. My favorite Luke moment, I'm going to go with his fight against Abeloth with Darth Krayt. Sworn enemies, yet Luke was willingly stand with bad against evil. I think canon Luke failed that test. Yeah, and you could see the back and forth and how Luke doesn't trust, the Lost Tribe, and doesn't trust Darth Krayt, but he does for the cause of the galaxy going under Abeloth's control. He does. And so you see that pivotal moment there, and it's very interesting. And if you haven't read Fate of the Jedi, I highly recommend it. It does, at that time period, it does bring in, of course, Abeloth is supposed to be part of the ones. It does bring in the Mortis arc in a bit, but then it also questions the Mortis arc, which I thought was fascinating. And so it questions it, what the purpose is, if and all this other stuff. So I highly recommend that. So if you don't like the Mortis arc in the Clone Wars, don't let this turn you off. It's very interesting how they flip things around, and Luke and the rest of the Order questions the Mortis arc and what's really going on, and they add another incredible spin to it. When he wears his sunglasses over his Palpatine face, basically makes makeup, he looks like Jack Nicholson. And now y'all cannot see it. Oh my god, that's right. We got to find that picture. If you could find it and put it in the Twitter chat, I could share it here. That would be interesting. I would love to see that. And then you guys will never unsee it whatsoever, or share it with me and tag me on Twitter or whatever. But I know which one you're talking about, Soul Assassin, because I remember that now. Brimstone says, one of my favorite is when he is training Mara Jade and she loses her temper and stabs the remote with the lightsaber, and it's just like, I never thought of that before. Right. She's like, I'm just done with this. I'm losing my patience, and she just, takes full control of that. And he's like, wow, okay. All right. So he's always been like humble about things too as well. And willing to learn from others too. And willing to, say, hey, even though, I have maybe some more experience than you guys, I'm your knight or master or whatever. That's a good point. So he wasn't cocky. He was willing to accept other people's opinions and stuff. So it was very interesting. And then, he always tested people's opinions and always made people think as well. Yeah. So, but that was a brilliant one right there. That was a brilliant one when she's training and it's like, I'm just done with it, kind of deal. And yeah. And let's see, when Luke turns on his green lightsaber after building it in the cave. Oh, that cut scene. Yeah, that was a brilliant. I wish they wouldn't have been cut. That would have been amazing to see. It would go great with Shadows of the Empire because he does make his lightsaber and he does test it and stuff. That's in Shadows, and this, even if they kept the scene here, it still wouldn't have broke continuity with Shadows because he is also inside a cave, prepared to go in to Jabba's palace. So let's look at the poll. Let's see. XR is at 54. So he's leading. XR Kun is leading. Darth Nihilus is at 25. Darth Cyan is at 4. And Darth Malik is at 17%. So that's the standing right there. We still got 20 minutes. So as you guys come in, hit the like button, vote, share that we're live on social media. And, and I graciously accept, super thanks. And if you're catching the replay or even super chats, but, it helps out. It really does. But if you can't, I know we're just done with the holiday season and everybody's catching up on and in beginning again, I guess you could say, on their life after the holidays. I understand, but, I do welcome the support. And I appreciate the support with you guys here as subscribers and in the chatting away with me about Star Wars, especially about Luke Skywalker and all of this. So thank you guys so much. All right. And Zim says, favorite Luke's Jedi Order moment? Well, it doesn't have to be Jedi Order. It could be any favorite Luke moment. So it could be in the movies. It could be in the EU. Your favorite moment of Luke. So it doesn't matter your knowledge, like how expanded your knowledge is with the EU. It could be a movie one, so I just want to know your favorite moment. And it says, when him and Ben went to Doran to visit the Bowder monks and Ben inhales healing. Oh yeah. So yeah, so that's in Fate of the Jedi. Yeah, and he is bone dead. Yeah, so they have to, oh, excuse me, they have to have the protective masks on and stuff for and able to breathe and stuff like that. And so, and he takes off his mask and inhales, the atmosphere. It's like helium, I guess you can say. And so he's teasing and singing to his father. So that was funny. Ben, he's got a good blend of his mom and dad with his personality and his wisdom and all this other stuff. And that's one thing that kind of, breaks my heart in a way, that we'll never get to see him as an adult. Who he marries or gets with or whatever you want to call it, to have his children or child, that leads us to legacy comics with Bantha and Cole, or Nat Cole and Cade, so that's one thing, because he's one of those interesting characters that was just coming into his own, in Fate, in Legacy, and then the buyout happens, and so we'll never get to see the son of Luke. And if he becomes a Jedi Master, a Grandmaster, I'm pretty sure he does. But I want to also see who steps up I wanted to see who steps up as Grandmaster after Luke does, and I don't think would have been Ben right away. But that's just my theory. Okay. Luke threatens Cadus. Yeah, so there you go. That's my absolute favorite one. And it's weird. I don't think Exar Kun would win the poll. Yeah, that's crazy, right? So again, Exar Kun is one of the most famous ones because of the double-bladed lightsaber, because of the Jedi Academy. Like I said, the authors, the company of the time really paid attention to continuity and tied in stories together because Star Wars is about history, right? There was never no reboots. There was never no rebooting of each story as we go along to where it never ties in. So they treated it as its own world and its history and how the past affected the future and so on. And so Exar Kun is one of them that, kind of goes into the future, and he has his ordeal with Luke, which he basically puts him in a coma, kicks Luke's ass, basically puts him in a coma, and so on and so forth. So let's see here. And it says XR comic series being released July 11th. Oh, for the Marvel's collections, right? And we have Stig Kenobi hopping in. Hello, Alora. Hope you are doing well today. Yeah, doing pretty well. I'm glad to be here with you guys to have some distraction. So yeah. Matt G, coffee, 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 more coffee. Yeah. And I swear, I'm not like high on caffeine, I guess you could say. I'm just happy to be here. And Mariah Jade, 2A. Love when Luke knocks down the Ark and taking out the stormtroopers in heir to the Empire with his lightsaber without using the Force, just his strength and wits. Correct. We see maturity happen. We see, his analytical thought process mature and all of that. Card is so impressed, and it just shows how smart and capable he was, whether he uses the Force or not. So those who are tuning in, vote your favorite Sith. This poll is going to be this series is going to be a little longer, so I am going to do a couple polls in the community chat here on YouTube, not on Twitter, but here on YouTube. So you guys need to come over here and vote, because I need to narrow down the Old Republic, pre-Old Republic era to a few, or to at least a couple, I guess you could say. So stay tuned for that. And then later we'll do, the Rule of Two, and then we'll do the Lost Tribe, that's post Return of the Jedi, the Lost Tribe of the Sith, and then we'll do the One Sith or whatever. So it's going to be a combination of all of that. So get your vote in on the poll, and share with me your favorite moment with Luke Skywalker. We're going to get ready to discuss his foreshadowing as the creating the new Jedi Order here. I just wanted to create some conversations with you guys. I'm so sorry. And now I'm depressed. Slurp. I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to depress you guys. The Darth Zana books would have been cool too. Carpathian practically begged Disney a few times to let him write them. He didn't even get a reply, I think. I'm going to have to look into that more and do a little video on that, just to kind of update you guys on stuff like that. Oh, and Batu says, and if I recall that story correctly, I think Crate reached out to Luke and offered to help him against Abeloth, and Luke let him go on. The one Sith Lord and Jedi Grandmaster equal mutual respect. Yeah, it's a compelling story there of the Sith and the Jedi coming together for a common enemy. And I think that's great. We see that too with the remnant of the Empire, or Empire remnant Empire, in New Jedi Order, and then we have the peace treaties and stuff that happens between them and stuff like that. But a common enemy brings two past enemies together to protect their world, their galaxy, and stuff like that. So that's a very interesting story there. And Orange Hat says, gotta go, but we'll be keeping the window open to keep your time. Yeah, okay, thank you so much. And then Zim says, I remember coming across a fan fiction story by a guy named Hand of Thrawn 45 that takes place in 75 ABY, following the story of the grandchildren of the OT heroes, dealing with the one Sith shenanigans. That sounds interesting. That does. And Jacob Ironside, what's up? Long time no see. Hello, OG. Yeah. So let's get into a little bit, because we're coming up on the hour here, coming up on 10 my time, and I want to get into the Cringe Factor stories too, because it's heavy this month, or this week. A lot going on, but I wanted to discuss more about Luke Skywalker and the new Jedi Order, and how it was foreshadowed of him to be the creator of that. And what that means is that, Luke, Yoda, we'll go to Yoda first. Yoda seen the errors of the old order. So the order and the PT, that's the old order. I'm not talking about the order way back then when it was first established. The old order, and how they failed to evolve. How the Sith, at the time when they thought the Sith were extinct, no more, gone, how the Sith held back, atoned, and they studied the Jedi. They studied their weaknesses so they could get revenge. So, in Revenge of the Sith novel, that one chapter that's called New Jedi Order, that's where, Yoda talks about the twins and their birth. And I'm going to play this clip. It's going to be off my phone. So hopefully I don't get a strike for playing it, because I try to use Audible on my computer to share, and it's like, you don't have the license to play this. So hopefully I will be okay. But if I'm not, then I'll just have to clip this part out. So this is what he has to say.
Of her skin. When Yoda and Bail came for him, he was still standing there, staring at it. She put this in my hand. For what seemed the dozenth time this day, he found himself blinking back tears.
No, that's Obi-Wan.
And I don't even know what it is. Precious to her, it must have been, Yoda said slowly. Buried with her. Perhaps it should be.
I kind of
Obi-Wan looked down at the simple, childlike symbols carved into it, and felt from it in the Force soaring echoes of transcendent love and the bleak, black despair of unendurable heartbreak. Yes, he said. Yes, perhaps that would be best. Around a conference table on Tantive 4, Bail Organa, Obi-Wan Kenobi, and Yoda met to decide the fate of the galaxy. To Naboo, send her body. Yoda stretched his head high, as though tasting a current in the Force. Pregnant, she must still appear. Hidden, safe, the children must be kept. Foundation of the new Jedi Order they will be. We should split them up, Obi-Wan said.
And so there's that prediction. There's more. He goes more into Luke, but I don't want to play too much of it. I rewound it a little bit further than I wanted to, but we got, how sorrowful, Obi-Wan was and stuff like that. So, when you listen or read Revenge of the Sith, especially going into the New Jedi Order, which is the very last chapter, you do get, Yoda, really contemplating, evaluating, feeling defeat. He does. And also hope. And that's what this is all about, is that this is setting up the hope. And that's Luke. And they said the twins will be the creators of the New Jedi Order, which we already know the fate. Leia went more her mom's way for a while and helped recreate the New Republic, and helped rebuild the New Republic and stuff, and fought against the oppression of the Empire, all of that, and recreated the New Republic, and and stuff. And then later on, she helps her brother out, and they stay together. And that's the pivotal thing that I think Disney Lucasfilm failed to understand, is that they were split up because of those circumstances, because of Anakin, and wanting. He was too attached, and so he wanted ways to save Padme, which turned him dark and benefited Palpatine. And so from that tragedy of Anakin, The twins were sent off on their separate ways to be protected. And so, they always knew, if you get into the lore, they always knew that they were missing. Like there was a part of them that was missing, and then and they realized after they found out that they're twins that they were missing each other, because they knew each other from being together in, their mom's womb. We already know that, when force sensitive twins are born, and Jaina and Jason are great examples of that. They establish a bond already, and they get to know each other already through the force and through them growing and all that. And so, we have them together, and that's one thing is about family. So when they have a chance to get back and reestablish their bonds and reestablish family and be together, they hardly leave each other, basically, unless it's a mission. Unless it's a mission and they need to take care of something or whatever. They're always together, always communicating, they're always supporting. And there's even a time, and we see this in, I think, Black Fleet Crisis, where Leia's like, I'm tired of this bullshit of yours, Luke, trying to look for our mom, finding out more about mom. I'm tired of this heartache that keeps bringing. I need you to leave. I'm done. So we have those back and forths, but that's what happens in families, and that's what happens in, relationships with friends and family and what have you. But the main point is that they were so excited and happy to have a family again. And that was one of the main foundations of Star Wars post Return of the Jedi. And basically family was throughout the whole lore. But for the two twins, the Skywalker twins, that was, one of the main things, the main plot, or theme, I guess you could say, is family. And so when we get to the new Jedi Order, like I said, Leia, she eventually becomes a Jedi Knight, and that happens in Darkness Trilogy. So Luke, he goes and searches, he takes on what, Yoda says, take what I taught you, basically, and again, I'm paraphrasing, and teach others. Basically, take what you learned and teach. And so because Luke is resurrecting the Order again, he did it in such a way where, you still have the same Jedi code versus, and then there's changes he made. And some of the changes he made is like how old someone needs to be when they're being trained, and so on. And, families was one important thing. Again, it goes back to that theme. Families is one thing that's important, even for the Jedi. And it really never posed any conflicts within the new Jedi Order. Never. We've seen Leia and Han go through grief, even though during the time she wasn't a full-on Jedi yet. We have, so much loss that happened in the new Jedi Order with everybody knowing each other, training, through mentorship, through the cause of being Jedi Knights and Masters and apprentices and stuff. Yet they persevered, because they understood what attachment was or is. And so, it was foreshadowed in the Revenge of the Sith novelization, which was so brilliant when Matthew Stover written it, because he got to go and sit with George Lucas with the creation of the novel. So George, had say on what couldn't be used. And there it is it is like, not plot, but it is heavy with EU for the world building, even in that. Just like the PT. And it links brilliantly the two trilogies, because it's setting up Luke and Leia and what's going to come. And I don't think that the fans, like the newer fans of this Disney lore, understand that. And I had my engagements with people last week about Luke. If you guys haven't been following, you know me, sometimes I'll be like, okay, I'm gonna lay this shit down. That's just how I am. I'm gonna lay this shit down. So people say people say it's arguments. I get into arguments, but I'm like, I'm gonna lay shit down. This is what you're not understanding. This is not what you're not seeing what the true intentions of this is. Luke is the opposite of Anakin. What we see in Luke was basically what Anakin was supposed to be if he never fallen to attachment and to the dark side. Luke was the potential of Anakin, or is the potential of Anakin. And also Luke is the one that basically saves and re-establishes the order. As Yoda was saying, part of in this section here of the New Jedi Order in Revenge of the Sith, he's like 900 years I have trained, and he uses 900 years in that, and and he basically says, I've trained the Jedi to fight the Sith of the old, while the Sith were evolving. We should have evolved, and again, I'm paraphrasing, but so he recognizes the faults. Like they stay stagnant with their training. However, their training, I love all the different different duels, the fight techniques, lightsaber techniques, and all this other stuff. But they failed to evolve even with like relationships and stuff. They got too dogmatic in like the forms of attachment, that it hindered them in a sense. Because if they didn't, then Anakin would be able to sit down and discuss his fears with Padme. Or he wouldn't even have to discuss it. Well, yeah, he would still, because if he's still having those dreams, those visions and stuff, he would have better counseling and stuff like that. So we're going in what ifs, like, like if they evolved and attachment wasn't a problem anymore, then we wouldn't be discussing what, like Luke as the founder of the New Jedi Order and stuff like that, because things would have probably have been better. Who knows? But my point is, and this is about Luke Skywalker, is he is the creator of the New Jedi Order, and it was foreshadowed here. And when you get into like Jedi Academy, when he starts training his new Jedi and stuff, he's not perfect. He is not perfect whatsoever. He loses Jedi. He has one that goes to the dark side, and that involves Exar Kun. And speaking of Exar Kun, let's go ahead and take a look, and I'll go back to my thought here pretty quick. So the poll is closing. So as I announce this, get your vote in. So if you're tuning in right now, vote, hit that like button, and get involved with this conversation. Okay. So favorite Sith Lord, Old Republic, Part 1. I should have put Part 1. Exar Kun is 52%. Darth Nihilus is 24%. Darth Sion is 3%. And Darth Malak is 21%. So the poll is closing now with Exar Kun, the winner of this poll here. So thank you guys for voting. Stay tuned for more polls here on YouTube community, not my Twitter community, but YouTube community, and get your vote in, because I need to narrow these, the Old Republic era down a little bit more, because there's so many, Sith Lords and stuff like that I can't do a 4-part series without narrowing them down, because there's so many to choose from. So Exar Kun will be added to that one. Maybe. I don't know. I have to decide how I'm going to do that. So stay tuned. I'll have the poll up tomorrow. So we'll begin the Part 2 polls on the YouTube community as well. All right. So going back to that. So, so Luke basically, and some of the things he says throughout the lore is like, at first he pondered about, did Jedi marry? Because that was never, he was still collecting artifacts and stuff like that. He, from what it sounded like, he was never told about attachments when he was training under Ben and under Yoda. And that's where he questioned, about, did Jedi marry? And I remember him having conversation with that to Mara, and I think it was Survivor's Quest, because he was still unsure about that part of the Jedi, I guess you could say standards or rules or whatever you want to call it. And so I thought that was interesting. And then I think when he finally decides, discovers it and stuff, they get more into attachments and how the old order was dogmatic about attachments, and how attachments, you could teach people, you could teach your Jedi to learn how and be very clear with them and discuss with them about attachments and stuff without them falling and stuff. So I thought that was very interesting, and to see, and it goes back to Ben pulling Luke, his father, out of attachment and fury. And so that was a great scene when it comes to attachments. Let me see here. Let me see what you guys have to say, because I have a lot to discuss here. I do. Let's see here. Is the family destruction in Disney Star Wars purposeful then? I don't know. I think because the only thing I can think of with that is that they want to show that a family structure isn't about mother and father raising the child, and so I don't know, because we have single parenting and stuff like that happens. Tragedy happens in families, whether it's a divorce or whatever. And I don't know. So my thought maybe is they don't want to share the family structure, but then again, we did have Luke and Leia be split up under different circumstances of adoption and an aunt and uncle, quote unquote aunt and uncle raising. So wouldn't that follow into, the inclusivity of family structure, of not being the norm of, husband and wife raising their kids? I don't know. So that's an interesting question. I have a theory, and this is Jim, about Anakin's fall. I believe Palpatine was using the Force to give Anakin his nightmares. I've heard that before, and I don't think he was. Honestly, I don't think he was. It was the Force. Being vague enough, it was self-fulfillment prophecy. I don't think it was. This goes into the Tuscans, capturing Shmi and stuff. People have said that he influenced the Tuscans. I really don't think it is, but I do think, because he didn't know about it until Anakin talked to him about it. And yeah, so, and then he used that information Anakin gave him to manipulate. I don't think that he set that up at all. So, and then are just the Disney way. Thanks, Bambi. Let's see here. What's up, oh grand chat? Justin, hello, how are you doing? Just got here and voted. Hail the EU. Yes. So many greats. I know. And like I said, it's like, it's the Old Republic era, pre Old Republic is so saturated with the Sith Lords and stuff. I'm going to have to do a couple more polls, but it's going to be on YouTube community starting tomorrow. Half the day will be one poll. I don't know how many polls it's going to take to narrow it down, but I want to have at least two, I want to have one final say. So XR Kun will probably go on that poll, and if he makes it through, he makes it through. If not, then that means it wasn't meant to be. So we'll go into that. I don't know. It's so saturated in that part. It's like hard to decide. But stay tuned for some more votes before Thursday. Please hit the like button. Yes. And let's go here. Disney is anti-nuclear family. So, yeah. So with that, and Luke and the New Jedi Order, of course, like I said, he had, kicked around, turned. They had that whole thing with that whole ordeal with Kip and bringing him back to the light, and, and all of that. And, Natasi Dala being involved. And so, some good compelling stories in there of showing, Luke getting permission by Mon Mothma on resurrecting, I guess you could say, or recreating or bringing the new Jedi or the Order back. And of course, we know Mon Mothma, the original Mon Mothma, she was pro Jedi as well. And we don't know what's going to happen with her in this Disney lore. And I can care less, other than, just observing and seeing what happens, to compare and contrast and discuss the differences between the two. It's not the real Mon Mothma in the Disney. It's like when you look at her in that Andor show, it's weird, it's odd how they're depicting her in a sense. But that's for another topic here. So yeah. So the prediction of Luke, the foreshadowing of Luke for the new Jedi Order. And as we get along, he does proclaim himself as a master eventually. And then once we get into the actual series, New Jedi Order, we see Luke, he's like kind of standoffish a little bit on what they should do. Should they intervene? Should they not? And we have Kip Duran, who is like gung ho, like, let's do this. The galaxy is in trouble. And so he's doing his own thing. We have this little bit of split in the order in a sense. And, and then we have the Vong just coming in and really impacting the galaxy, destroying worlds, terraforming them, capturing beings and making them out of slaves, all of that. And then, knowing that the Jedi are their threat, they have the Human Brigade or the Peace Brigade. I forgot the name of them already. So if you guys know in the chat, correct me, please. But they have them working to eliminate the Jedi. And then the New Republic kind of sides with it. So we have the New Republic kind of turning their backs on the Jedi because they're like, you're not effective enough. So why are we going to use you? Because this is, the Vong is a new threat that the Jedi are still having. They're a threat to the Jedi. When they're a threat to a Jedi, then that speaks volumes, right? So they're a brand new threat, a whole different threat. Then we have, the Empire or the Sith or whatever, and a brand new that the Jedi are learning but through experience on how to handle them. So it leads to dark stories. It leads to a lot of deaths. And this is where some people are like, I don't like the New Jedi Order, not only because of the Vong, because it's dark. And I think it was a nice, bold turn. If you want to talk about making bold changes or bold turns, but still keeping continuity, the New Jedi Order is it. Not the Last Jedi. The Last Jedi annihilates characters, regresses characters like Luke from their initial arc and setup from the OT and all of that. And shares that Luke is adhering to the old order ways instead of creating the new Jedi, all of that. There's a lot of things that, was very destructive to the lore that The Last Jedi did and the Disney trilogy. But when it comes to the New Jedi Order, you have these this new threat that's, hard for the Jedi to even, overcome at some point. And they start learning, they start progressing. They find new ways of dealing with this threat and stuff. So it's very, very interesting. And again, like I said, there's loss. Even within the Skywalker family, there's loss. Because the authors were that bold of like, we're gonna, this is not gonna be your same old, happy ending kind of deal. We are gonna put stakes out there. We are gonna show that we have guts to, make these pivotal stories to keep you attached. Attached, like I always talk about attachments, but you know what I mean, are into the story and wanting to learn more and what's going to happen next. And, so Luke proclaims himself as a master and stuff. And, again, we have him still doubting and what he can do, especially after he loses his nephew and thinking his other nephew, Jason, is dead as well, and we have all this mourning going on and this dire need to find ways to help save the galaxy. Eventually, we have Pelion, who is in his remnant part of the galaxy, who refuses to offer aid and help until he's attacked, and Luke comes with his group and saves him right away. And so from that, and him, Pelion being reasonable, he's still the villain, but being reasonable. And again, this goes to where enemies coming together to fight their common enemy, right? And so he offers help. And one of my favorite pivotal moments for Pelion in the New Jedi Order, and that he's like total badass, like total badassery, is he's talking to Vorik. He's a Vong. I think his name is Vorik. And he's laying it down. And I do have a clip. So Soul Assassin, if you want to share that clip. But he's laying it down like Vorik's like, trying to intimidate, talk shit to him. Pelion is near death in the Bacta tank, laying it in on him. Like, if you're not going to do anything about it, if you're not going to come in here and defeat us, get the hell out of here, kind of deal. And so that was a pivotal, like one of my favorite moments of Pelion here is like laying it to Vorik, putting down the law on him and stuff. And that was something very interesting. So again, we get, the good versus bad people coming together for their common cause, I guess you can say. And their common enemy to defeat and stuff like that. And so I thought that was another brilliant thing as well. So with Luke's order, Luke and being the person, let's go ahead and go into, because I want to get into, I might go over today. Today's one of the few days I'm going to go over 11 or 2 hours. So we get into legacy of the Force. And, of course we have, we have the new threat, another new threat here. So no, let's rewind. Let's go to the Darkness trilogy. So Darkness trilogy is one that, has a mixed review on. I like the story, most of the story involved in it, because we get to see Luke find out who Padme is, because R2 is going through malfunctions, and old stored data way back when he was Anakin's droid. He recorded the history, and so he's revealing scenes of Anakin and Padme. And one of the main scenes that is revealed is Anakin, or Darth Vader, choking out Padme on Mustafar. So we get to see Luke realizing that he forgave his dad and coming back into heartbreak. And I'm like, wow, that was really good for Troy Denning to do. Excuse me. Some people don't like the Killick part, and I understand. And Jaina's part, I understand. But he's realizing that the Order is breaking up into different factions and with their own different missions, and their common purpose is falling apart, I guess you can say. And so he declares himself Grandmaster. And he lays down the law to them, like, what, we're going to come together, but things I'm going to decide we got to do, blah, blah, blah. So he really takes reins of the Order. So that's where he steps up as Grandmaster. And then we get into Legacy of the Force, and, we have the new threats and stuff like that. And now he's established, Grandmaster. He's got his order, he's gotten through maybe a few generations of Jedi already. And he's fighting his nephew. His nephew turns. And Lumaya is involved. And this goes into, my cat's crawling all over me now. He goes into, discovering about Cadus, discovering about Lumaya, fighting that. He ends up, Mara gets killed. I'm going through a whole synopsis of this. I'm sorry, you guys. And he thinks it's Lumaya. He has her he has her duel with her, and he resorts to revenge in a sense, and that taints him. And because of that, can you hear my cat? My cat's purring. Anyways, and lay down. He realizes that his duel with Lumaya taints him, and so he's tainted with the dark side, and he can't go after Darth Cadus. He can't go after his nephew, but he doesn't run away. He peers into the future, just like the Disney Luke. He peers into the future. He sees him and his nephew. He sees if he takes action, no matter which circumstance, because the visions of the future are just a glimpse into what ifs of the future. They're just one scenario that could happen, right? So every scenario that he sees, he, basically he sees himself going dark if he defeats Cadus, or he fights Cadus no matter what. He goes dark. He replaces him. And Luke replacing another Sith, just imagine that. How, powerful he'd be as a Sith and stuff, And so he has to back away. He has to say, I can't do this because it's tainted me. And I do have a clip on that I recently shared as well for an EU clip. And of course, Jaina, she's already been training with Boba Fett and stuff. And so she's the one that takes up the task, I guess you can say. And, but my point is, My cat wants to jump all over here. My point is that Luke sees the future, doesn't act on it because he knows it'll turn him dark. His actions will turn him dark. So he has others. He has Jaina, and versus the Luke Skywalker who sees a vision of his nephew Ben, the Disney nephew, Disney Lucasfilm Star Wars nephew Ben Solo, sees darkness in him, sees what the future may bring because of that, and pursues him while he's sleeping and he hasn't done shit yet. So those are the differences. The real original Luke will think, okay, if I go this way, it can hurt me, it can hurt the galaxy, blah 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 blah. And Luke is the kind of person that has the redeeming qualities, right? So he, like in Legacy of the Force, he does try to talk to his nephew, and his nephew's like, I ain't like your father, kind of deals. We have all that, I'm not gonna, you can't, fix me, basically. And then we have the Disney Luke, who shows no redeeming qualities. Those redeeming qualities go to Rey. So that's a difference. That's what I'm getting to, is that they don't understand the character, the lore, what was set up, what the qualities, what Luke learned from his hero's journey in the OT and all that. So there we go, you guys. So a little bit of discussion about the Luke and the new Jedi Order, set up the Jedi and his storyline, basically. And that's why I was asking you guys what your favorite moment of Luke is in the lore, whether it's the movies or not. Yeah. Let me see here. What do you guys have to say? And then we're going to get into those art of Cringe Factor now. TCW did Dooku Grievous dirty. Yeah, I agree. And that's another one to talk about in another time. Zim says, I would read the New or Jedi if I had all the books. I only have 2 books and none of them are Vector Prime. Yeah, get Vector Prime and start collecting. If you can find hardcover that's not expensive, then I recommend that. Let's see here. And I went from 19 to 9 people, so I guess everybody got bored with me discussing Luke. I don't know. But anyways, thank you guys for holding out with me here. Jordan says, that was brilliant usage of R2, essentially a VCR. Yeah, he was malfunctioning. And, R2 didn't want to make Luke malfunction, basically get sad. And so he was trying his hardest not to reveal to Luke what happened with his father and his mother and all this stuff. So very compelling story there. Yeah. So with Luke, Luke of the original lore, it was always predicted, always foreshadowing that he was going to recreate the order for, basically the new Jedi Order. And we've seen his humanness, I guess you can say, because that's one of the counters that is like to say, oh, well, Disney's showing Luke being human. Well, no, we know he's human, but he's also a Jedi. He's a human with these Jedi abilities that are trained to, control emotions, work through emotions, and use the Force to help themselves out with healing and other circumstances and stuff. And that's what they forget to talk about. They don't go to those points because then it will destroy their narrative. Yeah, so we see Luke and what George intended. So now let's go ahead and go into Cringe Factor. And so I'm going to bring that up here. If you guys have anything else to say about Luke with the new Jedi Order, or anything you want to share about Luke, feel free to do it now while we switch gears here. And I'm going to go ahead and share a little commercial as well.
The fate of the galaxy is now in your hands. With the new LEGO Star Wars Slave One, you can load Captain Solo, arm your weapon systems, man the cockpit, and take off with the most feared ship in the galaxy. But watch out for rebel ships. No matter the enemy, no matter the firepower, you control the action. With the new LEGO Star Wars Collection.
There you go. LEGO Star Wars Collection. And so let's get into Cringe Factor. So this is where the fun begins. Okay. So I'm going to talk about the Bad Batch first, and then we'll get back to Yoda, and then we'll get back to what they're doing with Acolyte. So I'm not going to try to keep this long. We're going to go over my 2-hour mark that I like to keep the stream at, but I think because we missed a Thursday and there's so much going on, I wanted to discuss, get into a little bit of everything. So I need to make a, a little clip to segue into Cringe Factor. So I haven't decided what kind of material or what I'm going to use for that. But eventually I'll be clicking that when you guys will see the little video clip to segue into Cringe Factor portion of Caff Chat. And then I have a clip for the Art of Star Wars, because once the first one comes out, I did a like announcement, but once the first one comes out, the introductory one, we'll start discussing a little bit of Art of Star Wars here on Caff Chat too. It's going to be one of the topics from whatever, video that comes out during the time. And it's going to be every 2 weeks, like I said. So we have the Bad Batch here. And as I said, the Bad Batch basically is a cheap knockoff to the Null Arcs. And that's Cal Scarata's group. They were a group, the very first clones to be tested. That would be basically their commanders and stuff like that. They needed them to be less compliant, more independent willed, so that they could help lead and be more analytical and stuff like that. So they're the very first batch, basically. And the Kaminoans didn't like them because they were too independent, I guess you can say. But they were saved, and Cal Scarata came in and saved them and took them in, and they were trained and stuff like that. And there's a whole story behind them, and I probably jumped ahead on some of the facts and stuff like that. So I did do a little tweet on them a while back and had it pinned to my Twitter for a while. And and that was a great resource for you guys here. So Bad Batch is basically the knockoff, is basically in short. And but they still have the chip, from what I understand, which is weird. I guess it's like vague. I hear they have the chip, but then I feel like they don't. It's just so weird. But this is about unwhitewashing the Bad Batch. And when you take a look, I'm not even going to read the article because we don't really need to read the article here. But when you look at the Bad Batch from the first season, some of the complexions are lighter. Some of them, the facial features are slimmer than some. And that real life, if you lose weight, your facial features are going to switch up a little bit because you have less fat on your face as well. You have less like in your cheeks and stuff like that, but your face structure is still going to look relatively the same. And so you have all that. But this campaign, Unwhitewash, the Bad Batch, came out, and it started coming out from the first series or the first season. And so I pointed out, and people are talking about it now because I guess it was trending on Twitter like last week. And so I decided to just put my 2 cents in because me, that's just how I am. That's just my nature. If you don't know me, my nature, I'm a fiery person. I will, share my viewpoint, go back, investigate, and give my conclusion. And so when you look at, I'm going to see if I can pull up my Twitter one. When you look at Morrison or, Django in Jango Fett in, Attack of the Clones, he's dark complected in Attack of the Clones. So they're going off, Tamora Morrison basically is half Maori. Sorry if I said that wrong. And then, Caucasian or English or Britain or I don't know what, what lineage or, whatever he is from that. But my point is that when you have someone of half-breed or mixed blood, skin variation of color is going to vary, especially through the season and how long you're in the sun. It's just given. But anybody with any type of complexion will get suntanned and get darker, no matter if you're black, white, brown, yellow, whatever. And so my point is that I'm not going to refer to his race. I just shared that what he was, but I'm not going to refer to his race for skin color because that's irrelevant, because race has no part in Star Wars. You're human in Star Wars, and your origin is the planet you're from, or maybe the group of people you're from, the culture you're from. But when you look at Jango Fett in Attack of the Clones, he's dark complected. So basically, when you see the clones in the original lore, they're about the same complexion as Jango is in Attack of the Clones. But when you look at Bad Batch, they're not. But again, I'm not going to go with complexion because there's some stories, some movies that Tamora Morrison is, and he's lighter complected than others. So I'm not going to use that. And my thing here is, it's a cartoon, first of all. Who cares? My other thing is consistency. Everybody wants consistency in Star Wars because that's what the original lore set up, is some kind of consistency. And so when you look at Jango Fett and Attack of the Clone, and maybe you guys are not going to agree with me on this, and I'm not siding with this unwhitewash the Bad Batch campaign. I'm not. I'm just sharing. We need to pick our battles here. And sometimes we will agree with the enemy or the other side, the opposing side. Sometimes there will be a common ground. It hasn't been a lot of late, right? But my point is, and I shared this on Twitter, and I shared Jango Fett's image and then the image of the clones in the lore from a comic. And the consistency still stayed the same with the skin color, the looks, and what have you. Because that's what original Star Wars is about, is try to maintain consistency. Did they do it all the time? No, but those little hiccups were far and few in between, right? And so my point is, they want consistency, but they're taking it and using it as a virtue signal. That's my other point. So they want consistency, and I agree, because the original lore did. When you look at the clones mimicking or, imitation, or the viewing of clones and their appearances from Jango in the movies, it's pretty consistent. But when you look at the Bad Batch, it's not. So I get what they're saying here, but I don't agree with the approach they're taking with it, because they are virtue signaling about it. So this is a point where I kind of have the same thoughts as them, as consistency, yes, but I don't agree with how they're approaching it, because they're saying what they're saying in the article, and I'm going to pull it up. I'm going to scroll down on the article and bring that point to you. So what they are saying, and let me see if I could find it here. Let's see here. And they use, Tamora Morrison's race, and like I said, it's irrelevant in Star Wars because there's no race in Star Wars. What they're saying basically is, and I don't see it here, it's in here, is that the clones that are still complying with the Empire, are still under the Empire clones, stayed darker complexion than the clones that basically detached and went their own way and became some sort of rebels, like the Bad Batch. And so their skin complexion lightened. So basically, and so then I question about the chip. So once the chip is removed and that they decide to now stand against the Empire, do they all of a sudden become lighter skinned because the chip is removed? See all these really weird things that can come up with, and how these people try to virtue signal and what comes out of that. So like I said, there's points where we can agree in a sense, but then when it comes to the extreme on virtue signaling to prove a point, it really just destroys their narrative even more. Because I agree, consistency. That's all we wanted, right? That's why we were so upset when they decided to do away with the EU, because now we knew that all the consistent writing, the storytelling, all that was established is gone. And they have proven that they're not consistent. So let me see what you guys have to say. Okay, here. I know you guys started chatting again. So I have 13 of you guys here. Please hit that like button. And if you catch the replay, let me know that you are here. Let me know what you think about this unwhitewash the Bad Batch. says, but they're a defective batch of clones, so having lighter skin won't be a problem. And that's the thing. And that's the thing that I just said is like once they are defective, once they step away and stop listening and being under the control of the Empire, all of a sudden their skin, to these people's narrative, all of a sudden their skin is lighter. Yeah, so I get consistency, but the approach behind this is very odd. He's dark, but because he's mixed breed, so he's half breed, I guess you can say, he can get lighter in skin and stuff too. So, but he's still dark complected. He is. So, yeah. But that doesn't matter because how he was inside in Attack of the Clone, his complexion, how he looked, is what they mirrored the clones off of. So when you see young Boba Fett, basically his son, he's dark complected too. So consistency. And again, like I said, I'm not going to base it upon race because race is irrelevant here. Let's see here. Great point, Soul Assassin. Make sure they're straight and they're really defective. I know Alora's 2 cents. And Filoni just blatantly ripped off Rambo with the main clone, Creative Zero. Well, that's just like we had Hellboy in the High Republic too. So it's kind of interesting how they can't come up with their stuff, right? Maury. Sorry I said that wrong. Maori. There we go. That one I have always get tongue-tied with, and I apologize. I can say some crazy words like a huyapi in my language, which means bread, but I can't say Maori or whatever. OG won't rest till she's blocked by Disney Star Wars fans on Twitter. Laugh out loud. It's not a goal of mine, Soul, but me, I'll go in and say, hey, what about this? Or maybe you got this wrong because this is how this is, blah, blah, blah. And if it hurts their feelings and they block me, oh, well, I guess that's it. I mean, it's their choice. It's their choice. Filoni and creative, not again. Who could have predicted that, right? That's like tell me something I don't know. Racially, identitarians and progressives care sadly. Let's see here. Funny how Disney apes are now complaining about continuity when Disney has provided absolutely no continuity since 2015. No, even before then in a sense, but yeah, because they, like Tarkin novel came out before the movie and they changed that up to fit in their lore. So their continuity is kind of iffy there. Let's see, what? So basically rebellious people are white now, just like successful people. I don't know. That's the thing. It's like they're not that. It's like this author here. And let me see who wrote this. And we're going to go on to another article here. This is by Arzo Aman. Yeah. So like I said, it's a cartoon. And if they want consistency, I agree. Because when you look at the EU, and I will retweet my topic when I talked about this last week on my Twitter after this. So you guys, if you follow me on Twitter, you can go read about it. I debated this morning if I was going to share my tweet here live. Instead, I decided to just share the article because I can retweet, blah, blah, blah. But I agree with consistency because original lore did give us that with the appearance of Jango and what he looked like in Attack of the Clones. And that's dark complected, dark hair, all of that. So I agree with consistency. I do. Oh my God, I agree with these guys on consistency. But I don't agree with their approach on this, on what they're saying, their virtue signaling, and how they're going into a bit of racism about saying like the darker skinned clones are the bad guys and the lighter skins are the good guys. They're going down that narrative. And I don't agree with that. So we want consistency so this kind of narrative doesn't come up. And then we have clones that, we see this in history of Star Wars. Clones will dress differently. They develop their own personalities in a sense. Some of them shorter hair, some of their lighter hair, some of them dye their hair, some of them are a little bit skinnier, same facial features and stuff. Some of them are a little bit more chubbier, I guess you can say, but they're all the same clone. You know, we just see just different variations of like how Jango would look if he's fat, skinny, light hair, what have you. You know, and someone brought up the good point of like, well, them being under their armor and then also raised in a facility, wouldn't they be lighter complected because they're not exposed to, you know, the sun and blah blah blah? Maybe, maybe not. But I'm not gonna, I'm not gonna. This is Star Wars. I'm gonna go with what was shown to us in the movies. You know, other than trying to apply our real life into it in a sense. Because that's a good point, though. I agree. But I'm gonna go with what Attack of the Clones shares with us, and basically they're dark complected, dark hair, dark brown hair, black hair, what have you. So that's, so I just want to go here. Like, pick our battles, you guys. Don't use a person's race on identity in a fantasy that doesn't use race, because that's irrelevant. But pick the battles. And if we agree on some points, that's good. It's not very often we do, but that's good. But then I don't, like I said, I don't like the way they took this, the direction they took it, though. That's what I don't agree with. So I guess there's a middle ground with me on this. I don't know. Yeah, but let's go ahead and move on. I know you guys are discussing this anyways. Tommy's in the chat. Hello, and so is Teresa. Hello, how are you guys doing? I'm glad you are tuning in and jumping in on this. Don't people, this is Soul Assassin, don't people get a little lighter with age? Maybe the Bad Batch are nearly their elder age. And that's the thing. They have, they're genetically modified too. They're supposed to be genetically modified, no chip whatsoever. That's what the lore gave us under the movies and stuff and the EU before the Clone Wars. But as they age, they're genetically all altered to advance in age quickly. And if you get into the lore, like Cal Scarada and a group of them, and I forgot who exactly it was, basically had went in and had the Kimonians develop I want to say serum, I guess, I don't know, to help slow down their aging process. So that's another bit of story lore in there. I don't know what's going on with this here in Disney. If they're even considering that, I have no idea whatsoever. So if you guys know, if you guys researched it, I did not, let me know in the chat or let me know on Twitter. Because these guys right now, I need to check out like what the rate of aging is for them, the clones in original lore. I used to know, but I'm drawing a blank on that. But they age pretty quickly. My cat fell asleep on my lap, by the way. Let's see here. Tommy's in the chat. Yes, Tommy's in the chat. What's up? What's up? Okay, so let's move on here. So now with the Bad Batch, we have that, which was kind of odd. Like I said, they want to keep continuity with the looks. I agree. I don't agree on their approach with this. So there you go. So can we agree on something? Yeah, and I guess you, in a sense, I'm reasonable enough. I mean, I'm not that big of a bitch. All right, so let's go ahead and go back to attachment. Now, we did talk about attachment with Luke in the New Jedi Order when we discussed the lore with Luke in the New Jedi Order and how he helped break that stigma on attachment, educate more on, the do's and don'ts and stuff like that with attachment on leading to the dark side, and also becoming a shell of yourself as well, because you lose yourself with attachment. You lose yourself. And that was one of the main plots in there is you lose yourself. So this one is Yoda broke the Jedi's ban on attachment long before Anakin Skywalker. This is from the High Republic. So this is the direction, again, changing how we see Yoda. So by the time you get to the PT, especially Revenge of the Sith, then you're like, Yoda's useless. He becomes more of this this villain kind of person. Like, this person that doesn't understand Anakin because he's a hypocrite. Yeah, the clones age twice as fast. Yeah, I remember there was there was a like how many years versus a normal human, but I'll find out about that. Nibble, nibble. All right, so they're making Yoda a failure to understand his own Jedi and be more prideful, I guess you could say, more egotistic in a sense, because already in the High Republic, and this is Disney lore, but this also makes people, again, it goes back to how people perceive and look at these characters in the lore. So it changes people's perspective and all that when it comes to George's movies. So, in the High Republic already, Yoda's like having the Jedi see the Force in their way instead of like seeing it as mountains and hearing the songs from the mountains and the Force or whatever they said, and seeing it as trees or whatever that they said that the High Republic Jedi are seeing and viewing and using the Force, which is very odd to me because the Force isn't just those items. The Force is life. The Force is your experience. I don't know. It's weird. It's very, very weird. Very, very weird. So let's go ahead and get into this article here a little tiny bit. Yoda succumbs to a forbidden attachment as a Jedi Grandmaster long before Anakin Skywalker fell in love with Padme. Yet Yoda did nothing to help him. See how they're making him the bad guy in this? However, and just with this opening part of this article, and this is by Spencer Conley, just by this opening article, Yoda didn't know that Anakin was in a relationship with Padme. He didn't know that they were married. They were in love. None of that. So how could have Yoda helped him? He gave him the best advice he could with the circumstances and the situation Anakin gave him. Because like I said, the dogmatic part of the Jedi for the Order was the attachment part. And because Anakin knew that, and he didn't want to lose his position in the Order, he didn't tell the truth to him. Now, if they didn't have that dogmatic view with attachments, then this might have been very different in scenario, right? So, but Yoda didn't know. Yoda gave him the best advice. And this is something that Luke may have told them too, is like, don't become you got to learn to let go of people. And we've heard Luke say that before into his new order. You have to not be attached. You have to learn to let go. Death is a part of life. Rejoice in them crossing over. But Anakin didn't want to hear that because he was too attached. He was in fear of losing because he already lost his mom, right? But Yoda didn't know. Yoda did not know at all. Let me come back to the chat real quick before I moved on. Disney seems to not care for all the characters that George made, I guess. I don't know. I have no idea. So this, again, a part of Cringe Factor here. Oh my God. Ugh. But yeah, so basically, let's go ahead and get to the point here because I don't want to read the whole article here. So it talks about, Anakin's basically attachment and stuff like that. So in Star Wars Yoda number 2 by Kevin Scott, and the record here with me is this Scott guy is the one that's really just cucking out these characters, I guess you could say, really destroying these characters. Yoda has taken up a residence on a planet called Turek in an effort to protect the alien race called the Skalvi from the raiding forces of their Krokon. I don't know. While Yoda's motivations are noble and speaks to the true nature of the Jedi way, which is to protect all life in the galaxy, no matter how seemingly insignificant its actions. His actions weren't without consequences. By staying on Turek, specifically with the Skalvi, people, Yoda abandoned his post on Coruscant. Yoda is a Grandmaster on the Jedi High Council, so he is absent. So he was Grandmaster from then. Okay. So Yoda was a Grandmaster, and so his absence is felt throughout the entire Jedi Order. Yet Yoda chooses to stay on an outer rim planet doing little more than fending off raiders from time to time and learning a musical instrument. While Yoda claims he's just there to ensure the safety of the Scalvi and create peace with the Krulkan, the reason is that he's grown attached to these people, an attachment that inspires him to betray his duties as Jedi Grand Master. So there you go. That's the reason why. Because he's attached to the people, he's learning a new instrument, he's attached to the people. So now he is basically a hypocrite because he is giving up his duties as Grandmaster or betraying his duties. But isn't it Grandmaster leading by example by going and protecting people? You know? And didn't, like in the original lore, we had other Jedi that were basically, I guess you could say, stationed to different sectors of the galaxy, different planets, to help the people out, to be, that area of the galaxy's Jedi when conflicts happen, what have you. So isn't this what Yoda's doing? Hey, Brett, how are you doing? Isn't this what Yoda's doing? It's basically he's just being stationed out to protect and stuff. Oh my God. Now, they can't even put Yoda with Yaddle to be a hypocrite. They just got to have him all stationed out to protect a group of people and having compassion for them and staying with them for a while. And so they're saying he's given up the duties. Now, how is that comparable to Anakin's? Oh my God. How is this compared to Anakin's situation of attachment? I want to hear your guys' thought on that, because my thought is this is not comparable. He is leading by example of being stationed out into the greater galaxy, protecting a group of people and offering his services. Because that's what Jedi do, right? They go and protect, they maintain the peace. If he was to stay in the Order, wouldn't you say that he's attached to the Order? Right? Right, Iris? It's a stretch. It is a huge stretch. It is a huge stretch right there. Yep, Jedi Watchmen watched over planets. Exactly. And we see that when we get into the Republic comics that have to deal with Quinlan Voss. And they contact some Jedi that are Jedi Watchmen. And they're out there on task. And even Voss stays away, even without the council's blessing, in a sense. He stays away for a while. But that doesn't mean he has attachments. Yeah, he's building attachment to his Colleen, but eventually he's like, once the war is over, I'm leaving the Jedi for you. So he understands that, once his duty is over, and she understands that too, that they can commit to each other fully. But this is a stretch right here. This is a stretch. That's why I wanted to basically give you guys an idea of a cringe. This is like a classic Cringe Factor article here. This is a huge stretch. They're going to make Yoda another deadbeat dad. He certainly abandoned Grogu. He's not even, Grogu's not even his. Oh my God. Okay, so I just wanted to share this. And notice, Cavan is, he is one of them that keeps on continually destroying this character and not understanding Star Wars, what attachment really is, and maybe not understanding lore. But again, they threw it out, they tossed it out for creative freedom, and this is the creative freedom that Star Wars is offering now. They're reinventing the wheel, and it's like these wheels can't even turn. There's no sustainable, full circle about this whatsoever. It's so detached. There's so many breaks in the tire that it can't even spin. The tire is the continuity, basically, if you didn't get what I was saying. Yeah, let's see here. Guys, we just heard OG standing up for Grogu. Praise. That wasn't standing up. Grogu isn't Yoda's child. Not yet his. They might retcon. And you know what? You might be right, which would make him a greater hypocrite. This doesn't make him a hypocrite, but having him be the father to Grogu, now that would be something else. That would be something else. And it says not okay. And then hail OG, hello. This will worked, but what if you make it square? That's basically what they're doing. There's okay, cat, go on, go. He wants to play with everything right next to me. He's a baby. All right, so let's go to the next article so we can start wrapping this up. Again, we're gonna go over a little bit, which I hardly do. I like to keep this within 2 hours, just attention span and what have you. And let's see here. Now this next one, this next one right here, I shared recently on Twitter. I had my little, synopsis, or my little essay written on this, I guess you could say, my evaluation of this. But I wanted to share this again on Cringe Factor because I thought this was worth it as well. Star Wars Sith TV show Acolyte will complete its incredible prequel fix. Again, what needs to be fixed in the prequels? What exactly needs to be fixed in the prequels? Other than, people's complain about the CGI, some of the script that's not so great with some of the lines that some of the, that they have, the dialogue, which, is, I guess you could say could be fair because, it could have been a little bit better. But however, storyline, lore-wise, what needed to be fixed? So Star Wars' upcoming Acolyte TV show is expected to focus on the Sith, which is great news for Star Wars prequel trilogy legacy. What is so great about that? What needs to be changed? And I hate these pop-ups. Let me go ahead and zoom in here. So here we go. I think you might hear my cat purring. Upcoming TV show, The Acolyte has potential to complete Star Wars' impressive prequel fix. So this is why I'm reading parts of the article, because they have these here. Impressive prequel fix. Well, the Star Wars prequel movies, especially Star Wars Episode 1, The Phantom Menace, and Star Wars 2, Attack of the Clones, had flaws. The trilogy was incredibly important to the franchise world building. Okay, so what are their flaws in there? George Lucas' Star Wars prequels redefined what Star Wars could be thanks to additional additions like the Sith and their ancient history with the Jedi. We already got that in the original lore, which weren't fixes. It expanded. I don't think they get the concept of expanding the lore, so we know more about the history of the Sith and what happened before the prequel and how it led up to the prequel. Still, much of Star Wars prequel's world building potential has yet to be explored in live action. Their fixation on this live action crap. Star Wars has always been a multimedia. There was a hierarchy, yes, but the only difference was the movie canon was George's, the G canon. So movies were G canon, or the movie hierarchy part. And then everything else was C canon, that include the cartoons that George helped write and stuff, the novels, the games. And then you have S, where some of the storylines in the games weren't particularly, part of the lore, continuity, or canon. And then you have the non-canon, which was Infinities. But my point is, Star Wars has always been a multimedia type franchise, that everything linked together. If it was a part of the hierarchy canon, that was canon or continuity. If it was stated otherwise, it wasn't. But it was a multimedia. So we could get stories, continuation stories, whether it was in the movie, whether it was in the novels, the comics, game lore, it was all one thing. So, and then Disney did announce, and I wish I would have saved that tweet, but Disney did announce that they were, that Star Wars was going to be one single continuity. There was not going to be a hierarchy of continuity whatsoever like there was before. And this hierarchy of continuity happened when Filoni complained that the Clone Wars was a part of the C canon. So the T canon came about. None of the other TV stuff like the Christmas special, ouch, go on, or the like the Ewok and droid cartoons and stuff like that, they were never placed there because he just didn't want to be a part of the C canon, the EU canon, I guess you can say, because fans called him out on some certain circumstances and stuff like that. But I'm not going to get into that. All right. So we're getting to this. Disney Star Wars has done a lot for the Jedi in terms of backstory, blah, 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 blah. No, you have not. So let's see here. Let's scroll down. He looks so sad here. He's like, what the hell are they writing about? All right. So the Acolyte synopsis describes an upcoming Disney Plus Star Wars show as a mystery thriller set in the final days of the High Republic. It has since been confirmed that the Acolyte will take place around 100 years before events of the Phantom Menace, or 132 years around the New Hope. Ow, go on. He's like raising hell with me, my cat. A New Hope in terms of the movies and TV shows. Therefore, the Acolyte will be the furthest back in the main Star Wars timeline has ever gone. What? You mean the Acolyte is the furthest back that Disney has gone? Not Star Wars has been taken in the timeline, because we just voted on some of the Sith that are basically 4,000 years AB or BBY. But then we also have 25,000 years of history plus. So, yeah. Okay. With the Sith while the Sith were believed inactive during shoot, go on. Okay, that was from my cat. Okay, where did we go? I know you're not coming up here. No. I'm having malfunctions with the cat here. Star Wars franchise since in the very first movie, blah, blah. Okay, where was I at? Oh, here we go. Sorry about that, you guys. A cat jumped onto my keyboard and we're having this shit. Go on. Oh, no. Let me check the chat here and let me regroup, because I'm having shenanigans. Let's see here. Absolutely cringe. I can't wait for the fail. Hello. And let's see here. Lucasfilm should take the opportunity to establish a Jar Jar as Sith. Else is unnecessary. Let's see here. And then Soul Assassin says Lucas era has gone back 25,000 years, along with different dark side users besides the Sith. My cat he left now. Yes, he is a Sith. I can't believe that. He's like, let me just jump. Oh, cat fight. Oh my God. All right. He's gone now. He's eating. I can hear him eating. Let me go back to where I was at. So they're saying that this is the first time it's ever expanded. They're probably trying to say within visual wise, like TV show wise, but still, like I said, my point stands. Star Wars has always been a multimedia project, so that's not really relevant. While the Sith were believed inactive during the time 100 years before the Phantom Menace is an interesting enough period for the Acolyte to explore and perhaps even retcon. Keywords there. My main point about these Cringe Factor articles that I go through and then the history, the lore that I'm giving you guys here and going back and comparing and contrast is what they are doing. They are like these articles. Yeah, clickbait articles, people call them. I agree. But there's truth in here. They are sharing what's going to happen, what they are doing. Pay attention, you guys. Even if you don't like these clickbaity articles, they are sharing truth on where their intentions and where they're going. And this article doesn't really give what they're fixing, but what needs to be fixed in the PT. What lore-wise, tell me, you guys, what lore-wise needs to be fixed? In truth, they're just retconning. And where's the rest of the article? Here we go. And then also, according to the Acolyte synopsis, the show will explore shadowy secrets and emerging dark side powers. Now, I know as you get closer, but this is still within the 1,000 years before the PT, we had Sith, still out there that were being hunted down, or their actions were being explored by the Jedi. And then they killed the Jedi to get them out of their way. And this is original lore, but they made it to look like they weren't involved, like they were accidents or they just disappeared or whatever, so that they can stay out of, the public view, so the greater galaxy can think, and the Jedi can think that the Sith are gone. Now, this is like thousands years before, not 100 years. Even with Plagueis and Tenebris, they were hiding in plain sight. They were using their species being identity while still being Sith. They were that much in disguise, and we see that with Palpatine. But during the years of peace, the 1,000 years of peace, as the Jedi said, there were still conflicts. Conflicts going to still happen, what have you. But they only started feeling the dark side as they got closer. And I don't remember how close it was. And I think it was less than 100 years. Don't quote me on that. I have to go back and review. And he's back. And he's back. Come on, guy. I need to go lock him up. I need to go lock up this little shit ass. I'm going to show him to you guys before we move on. Before we move on, you're going to see the kitty. You are going to see the kitty. Okay. I'm right here. This is the little shenanigan guy. He's jumping up. His name is Toby. Look at his eyes. He is Sith. Okay. Go on, baby. Go on. So let's go ahead. Like I said, I don't like the lighting here, so I'm going to take myself off. Whoopsie. And then we need this back here. All right. Oh my God. Meow. You heard him? You heard him? Yeah. So basically, and you can read my whole bit spew on this on Twitter, is that they're saying they are gonna retcon, and they are also are hinting around about bringing Plagueis back. So what are your guys' thoughts on this? They're reinventing the Sith, reinventing the timeline, because of course they threw away out the EU as a foundation. So they basically destroyed the foundation so they can make their own foundation, which they can't even stand on. And so they're reinventing the Sith. This little one is like bouncing up behind me. Used to have a cat that looked like that named Pumpkin. Oh, his name is Toby. He's Darth Toby here. Darth Toby is now on my shoulders. Okay. I think it was Tenebris that his master did something that caused the Jedi to feel the dark the first since the Sith War. Yeah, I remember that too. I just can't remember how far back that was. But it was like they felt it, and then they didn't, like that. You know what I'm saying? So it's interesting how they did. So are they going to kind of go into using similar storylines? Going to use similar storylines? We don't know. But usually it's something that's they basically turn it upside down on its head. And let's see here. Great. They're about to go full Rings of Power. They've done Rings of Power when they announced. Actually, no, because with Rings of Power, they announced that they were Tolkien, right? But with this, they threw away the EU where they can expand on, because during that timeline, like that 1,000 years between the Republic and the creations of the Rule of Two and the PT, there was storylines that weren't created. There's that time gap in the history there that wasn't created. They could have still kept the EU, timeline that didn't have anything in to expand on the stories. Instead, they tossed the whole EU. So in a sense, no, they're not going, because they're not really honoring what was gone before. because they were like, we're going to get rid of what was made for before so we can have creative. So they were very honest in a sense, and they still are very honest with what they're going, but then they're also coining it as like, oh yeah, back EU and EU storyline because we're going to honor the EU people. So be glad what we get, even though we're bastardizing it. So that's basically what they're doing. Says, I don't have a cat, but I have a puppy named Daisy. I named her after Daisy. Daisy, really? Okay. Disney is doing what they've been doing since the beginning, taking existing stories, rewriting them in their own image. Correct. Yeah. So I just wanted to leave up with this here. You can read my synopsis here on Twitter as well. And this goes into more here. It's very cringy here. I'm not going to get into it, but they don't say what they're going to retcon, what needs to be corrected in the prequel trilogy, but they're saying it's going to correct the trilogy. So I don't know. So keep an eye out on here. Oh, and I wanted to share this. All right. So right here now, before we go, one more cringe piece of information. The general perception of Star Wars prequels has significantly improved since Revenge of the Sith. Well, and Revenge of the Sith is probably the most strongest part of the story. We get the climax of the story, we get the turn, we get, the duel and all that stuff. While that shift is partly due to generational handover, as those who watched the Star Wars, so they're just saying, oh, it just got better because blah, 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 blah. The prequel trilogy, I agree, was always good. There's, always been to the lore. But upon the release, we'll consider episode 1, 2, and 3. Their Star Wars, so it's our Star Wars now, but whatever. New canon has also done a lot to improve the prequel era. So new canon has done a lot to improve the prequel era. So basically getting rid of the rule of two, all of that. I guess that improves it, right? For example, Star Wars Rebels combined the prequel lore with aesthetics from the original trilogy in a way Star Wars had never done before. So Rebels has improved the prequel trilogy. And by combining the prequel Sith lore with the aesthetics of the trilogy, the prequel trilogy and the original trilogy already combined them together. It's need the EU or other stories to get what was going on. So how did Rebels fix the lore between the PT and the OT? Likewise, The Mandalorian. The Mandalorian felt like a spiritual successor to the Star Wars, despite taking place after Return of the Jedi. Oh, so it's a spiritual successor. How in the hell is it spiritual? How in the hell is it a spiritual successor? I don't know. Anyway, so there you guys go. I hope you guys laughed at that. Oh, Zagharat, you're coming in and we're getting ready to end. I'm so sorry. Oh, ugh. I get ready. Non-binary Sith plays. But, okay. I'm going to go ahead to lay down some facts here. Original lore and their aliens, there were different genders and different sexual preferences and stuff like that. So that's always existed in Star Wars. Yes, that's always existed. Hutts are hermaphrodites. Just saying. Is that right? Hello. Channel Starface says this. Don't believe in gender, young apprentice. We fight against Jedi privilege. If you get into Fate of the Jedi with the Lost Tribe, use their sexuality to manipulate. And I guess that's also in the public era too. They are awesome because they said they are awesome. Ha ha ha. Yep. What? I generally like Mando, but in no way did that even feel like the Clone Wars. Like, it's the spiritual successor. It's all spiritual. It's spiritual because, baby laid out on the rock and all of a sudden, it transcends this beam. So all Jedi can that he needs to be rescued, or I don't know. That was so cringe. He'll known as Darth Plagueis. Oh my god, here we go. Send Ovax. White Jedi privilege. And then please, Aboth, come back. Or Abeloth, we need you. Yeah, so there you go, you guys. 3 cringe factor in one sitting. Holy hell. So what do you think about the, unwhitewash, the clones, basically, the Bad Batch? What do you think about Yoda basically being a watchman and staying with a group of, people on their planet to protect him, being used as evidence that he's a hypocrite? What do you think about that? And then also about this. Is this acolyte is being said to correct errors in the PT? But what are the errors? What exactly is wrong with the PT that the acolyte has to change? And yeah, they did admit that they're going to retcon. It's there. So there you go, you guys. And be sure, keep an eye out. Hopefully by next Thursday, we'll be discussing the introduction of, not all of them. There's so many people who contributed to the concert and concept visuals for Star Wars, right? So I'm having an introductory video coming out here pretty soon. Like I said, I decided to give Ralph McCurry the respect and have his own 2-part series. So I'm adding on to that. But the introductory of like the images, some images, and the creators of the concert and visuals and what have you, just so you guys know, because maybe there's some people that you don't know about, and there's like this whole list of them, and it goes into the cover artists, and it goes into the game artists, the game visual artists and stuff. Very, very interesting, very fascinating, who helped build the world of Star Wars under George's vision. So stay tuned for that, and hopefully by next Thursday we'll be talking about those, a little bit about those artists as well, which is Cringe Factor article. I promised you guys just one, but I just thought I'd overdose you guys with this. We have an emoji for Darth Plagueis in Discord. Laugh. I need to become a member. I am a part of Discord. I'm logged on in a while, so I need to go and say hi and catch up with you guys in there. But I do need to become a member of Alvin's channel as well, so I need to go check that out. I might still Discord for my channel. We'll see. I just can't dedicate the time right now to it. The profile pic is boss. Thank you. And the Soul Assassin says, please hit the like button on the way and give shout out to Darth Toby the kitty. Yes, Darth Toby the kitty on my back is clean, you guys. Because when he jumps on, he's a kitten. So he's going to latch on. He doesn't know better yet. Have my water bottle. Yes, I use water bottle. Correct person, correct my animals. Great stream. Had fun. Thanks. Yeah, thank you for coming in. And Darth Toby, natural. Yes. He is unnatural. Hail Toby. I'm going to have to make just my own emoji, add more emojis to my channels for channel members. I think I'll do a Darth Toby emoji. I'll figure it out. I'm an artist. I can sketch something out. Yeah. So by the way, you guys, stay tuned for that. A new topic will come into Caff Chat, and we'll discuss whatever video I come up for the Art of Star Wars series. We'll discuss some of that. So guys, watch those videos and learn about the artists and learn about the history of Star Wars during that time. So the eyes of concept art. Leave your comments in there and then be prepared to discuss a little bit about it. So there you go. It's like I'm a teacher. You have your assignment. You got to watch so we can discuss. I'm a teacher. I do. And this basically helps with knowledge of Star Wars and stuff, and the making of Star Wars and all that fun stuff. So stay tuned for that. I'm so excited. And thank you guys again. I was very chatty today. I'm so happy to be here with you guys. What else is going on? Just regular coffee chat or Caff Chat every Thursday, 9 a.m. New series starting to roll out now. I'm very excited about. Talking EU will resume here as soon as I get some more interviews scheduled. And what else? Oh, yeah. And the spacing is this Friday. So we will discuss more about the Bad Batch on that and other topics that are going to come out. current topics. So stay tuned for that on Policy's channel. It's 7:15 my time, Pacific Standard Time. So come join us. I teach yoga, I zoom home, clean up, and I appear on that. So that's my night. So I come in, zenned out and ready to go with maybe an open mind or maybe a tired mind, but I'm there always. I can be. Always fun to be with those fine gentlemen here. They make me laugh, you know, they make me comfortable. I can BS and be myself, and have fun and discuss about power, and all the bullshit that's coming out, and, you know, things about what we see, and even their community on Twitter and stuff. You know, we're very real, and sometimes we agree, sometimes we don't, and that's what I love about that. So thank you guys again. Become a channel member. If you're catching the replay, please let me hear. Comment on the various topics on here. Let me know your opinion. Even if you, that's fine. I may, you know, talk back at you a little bit, but that's just me. You know, I just like to, if I disagree, I will let you know I disagree. If I agree, I'll let you know I agree. I'm not shy about anything. Sometimes it gets me blocked, but hey, that's just my story. Yeah, so, you know, become a channel member, support the channel as well as check out the merch. Yeah, so thank you guys again, and I look forward to talking with you guys here about more Star Wars lore. Keep it real out there. Any questions about Star Wars or share anything about George Lucas era Star Wars, join the Twitter community, share, create polls, get engaged. That's what it's all about. That's what it's all about. So thank you guys again, and I will chat with you guys later.
I had fought the worst of all wars and witnessed the redemption of evil. I have seen balance restored to the Force. But order can turn to chaos, as it did when I was born. Now, with my loved ones and my loyal allies, I face a new challenge unlike any before. And I'm not sure at this time we can win.
Star Wars Vector Prime by R.A. Salvatore, the first novel of the new Jedi Order.
Another happy landing.